So the 2 minutes passed. My name is Elena Carrasco. I will be together with you next week in Entebbe, together with my colleague David Redondo. I'm going to hand over these first minutes of the session to David as he prepared another game for you to start the session and to complete it in a few minutes. You know.
So yeah, good morning everyone. This is David Redondo. Sorry, my microphone was muted. I was talking to no one. So I'm happy to be here with you again on this session 4 of the workshop. And if you remember what we went through together yesterday, we had an overview on cost collectors, basically focusing on project system and the different hierarchy, and how the project is set up and what is the most important information. Then we reviewed together also the funding. I mean, we had a quick overview on the funding process for projects. So I prepared a very quick game for you to go through and to summarize something that we saw yesterday, and then maybe we didn't spend enough time. So that's why we want to make you play a bit with it. It's only one exercise. You will do it in 2-3 minutes, but it consists of creating a sequence of project statuses. All right. So we copied a link on the chat. I think it should be available for you. So please click on the link that you see on the chat that was copied by our account. And please, you have 2-3 minutes to do the game. It's just a game to to find the correct sequence for the project statuses, both system status and user status. Now, please, if you okay, so please, if you see the link and you are able to access, please click on the green check, and you have up to 10:10 to. I mean, you have 3 minutes to do it because it's very simple. Okay. If you have any problem accessing the link, just please write to us, and we'll see what's the point. Once you complete the game, please click on the green check so we know that you have All right. So I think for those who join later, you can see the link in the chat. This is a quick game for that is related to the project overview or cost project overview that we saw yesterday. So please access the link and try to complete the exercise. Since it's very, very simple, I'm going to open it as well and just do it quickly for you, so you can see that if you did it correctly or not. So I'm going to try to share my screen. 1 second. Okay, can you hear me? Now I'm going to share my screen if you don't see it yet. So just I'm going to do it quickly, this exercise for you. Let me just drag it here. So this is the exercise that we prepared. Okay, I will not put all my data, but so you see. Okay. Now those are the 5 different project statuses that we had in the project, and this is applicable to the project and also to the work breakdown structure elements. So it's important somehow, because if you don't get familiar with these 5 statuses, you will get errors once you're doing the practice. So and then you will get an error with the acronym and you will get a bit confused. So you need to get familiar with the meaning of this list of status and status list, and also with the sequence, right? So we have to drag from the left side to the right side, dragging and dropping. So what will be the first status will be IPP, that is not here. Then we will change the project to status under budget release, right? This is the status when we when we want to make clear that we completed the hierarchy and the structure, and now it's on the side of the funds management module, so they have to allocate budget. They have to allot budget to the project. After this budget has been allocated or allotted, then we'll change all elements to ready for release. Okay, so we go from under budget review to ready for release. Once the project is ready for release, then it can be released. And then notice that release status is system status. So it's the only one that is not a user status. So it has to be done in a different way, as we will see in 7. This will be the third step. And then finally, after it is released and if it's budgeted, then we can change it to status release and budgeted. Only in this status, release and budgeted, RAB, will be possible to charge the project, will be possible to use WBS elements in shopping carts, POs, low value acquisitions, or goods issues, or trying to collect costs, will be only possible if the elements are in the status release and budgeted. So this is also a good introduction for the session today that Elena is going to cover, or is going to explain collecting costs, right? So we have to assume that the elements that we are using are in status release and budgeted. Then finally we have the status month-end closing, and then this is the status that we have to set in the elements in order to do the cost settlement. So the project will reach release and budgeted, and then we'll change to month-end closing at the end of the month, and then we'll come back again to release and budgeted, and then month-end closing, release and budgeted, and this will be happening monthly. All right. I hope it was clear. It was only a small exercise to put you up to speed and to help you being awake. So I'm going to give control back to Elena, so she can start the session. Thank you so much for being here today, for your patience, and I'm happy to see that we have almost the full class here. Thank you, and Elena, your turn.
Thank you, David. So let's continue with the session of today. As David said, the project needs to be in status released, budgeted and released, and only charging cost to the project. Let's begin with the session. Let me share the screen. This is a little recap on the previous session days. So, as you remember, an asset under construction goes through 3 main phases through its life. The first phase is to set up the cost collector and assigning some budget to it. And then we will run through different monthly activities. So one of the group of activities is called collecting cost, and this is what we are going to see a little bit today and more in depth during next week, what it means, this collect cost phase that is done on a regular basis. Then this cost will be settled to the asset under construction, and once the asset under construction is completed, there is a final settlement to the final asset, and then the cost collector is closed. We continue with the recap that we saw yesterday and the previous days. Basically, we already touched upon how to set up a cost collector. In this case, as David mentioned, we will focus on projects, as internal orders have been advised not to continue. And then these projects will need to be some budget allocated into them. What happened next? Next is let's assume that we are self-constructing some assets, and in order to construct these assets in the project, we will need to use and therefore to procure some goods and services that can be directly charged or attributed to the project. In case that we have already the materials in the storage location, we will discuss what is a storage location a little bit now and more in depth next week. So if we don't need to procure materials because we have already the materials at the mission, we will issue these materials from stock. And also, in case that we have hired some staff that will be work entirely for the project, and therefore the salary needs to be paid from the project, we will run some payroll. Basically, in a nutshell, these are the three main sources of costs that will be charged against the project. Later on, there will be some activities on a monthly basis, which is basically to review the projects and assign the cost to the projects in case that there are some outstanding costs. Then we will create some sub-asset masters and to settle to the AUC, etc. We mentioned earlier in the week that the roles involved in the assets under construction are basically roles under the engineering, working in engineering, working in PCIU, and working in finance. We're going to, as you see, the project management user doesn't have a step specifically and only assigned to him or herself, but the role is more an overview, and it's more of controlling and monitoring and advising to the different users on what costs need to be assigned to the project and to monitor the project expenditure and status. In other words, I see and project managers participating throughout the whole project, but especially in the early stages of the project. Why? Because the impacts, and we're going to see it later this week and next week, the impacts on the early stages of the project, the actions that we execute during the early stages of the project are going to impact throughout the life of the WBSE. Meaning, an engineer, for example, will be working together with finance users in order to advise what will be the structure of the project. Because an engineer is a person who technically knows how the project, if you remember, David was using an example of a camp with buildings, with fence, with roads. An engineer will work together in a team with the finance and in order to set up what will be the structure of the project. Oh, sorry. And they will make sure that the budget is allocated to the project, and later on what they will do is to advise requisitioners. They will by themselves not create shopping carts, but they will have a key role in advising those users in Umoja in order to how to set the shopping cart and the goods issue properly, to make sure that these items are directly linked to the project. The same with payroll. So engineers and project managers have a key role in monitoring and advising throughout the life of the project. So with regards to the collecting cost phase, what exactly do they need to advise, or what are the areas that are key because their impacts in the rest of the supply chain and impacts in other Umoja modules? Is the areas of procuring goods and services, as well as running payrolls. In this slide, I'm going to show you another view and why is it important to pay attention to the process of collecting costs. When we collect costs from service entry sheets of the POs for services that we are placing against the project. Meaning, for example, if we are procuring materials that will be used in order to self-construct a project, and we are also procuring a service that can be either freight services or other type of services, these services will be attributable to the project. So the service we need to make sure that are linked, the cost of the service, to the project. So in other words, the WBSE will be charged through service entry sheet as a result of the POs for services. We'll be collecting costs from goods issues, and in order to issue goods to the project, these goods must be previously arrived into the inventory. So there is a previous step, which is the good receipt. After we execute the good receipt and the goods are in the inventory of the storage location, we will issue the goods for the project. So the goods issue will be charged against the project. We will run some payroll runs in case that there are staff that has been hired in order to work for the project. This staff can be an engineer or any other staff. If this cost, if the payroll can be directly attributable to the project, then we will charge it directly to the WSE. There is other service entry sheets. The service sheets, as a result of the payment for the consultants or individual contractors that we may hire in order to self-construct any given project for assets under construction. And also some JVs as a result of if some troops are directly attributable to the project, they will be charged and they will be linked to the WBS element. Let me see the chat in order to see if there are any questions. Okay, can you hear me now? Yes. As I was saying, sorry, some of you could not hear me. In a project, we will be using and we will be collecting costs coming from different modules in Umoja. So there is integration between different modules, and all of them are going to be linked to the project. The first module is SRM, is the portal. The second module in Umoja is the module on logistics execution. There is a module on HR and the finance module. So let's see a little bit more in depth what are the documents in the different modules that are going to collect cost and assign it to the project. In the module of SRM, which is the module used for basically shopping carts, POs, and contracts, we are going to charge against the project POs and shopping carts. Not all of them, some of them. We're going to see it next week as well. In the module of logistics execution, we will perform goods issue, and this goods issue can either be statistical and budget relevant, no cost recovery. These are movement types that we'll be selecting depending on the movement or the type of issues that we are going to execute against this project. And we're going to see it next week as well, but this is just a piece of information for you to be aware that we can select statistical movement types and budget relevant movement types against the project. And this is in Umoja, the module of logistics execution. We will also post service entry sheet as a result of POs for services, and including as well POs for service entry sheet as a result for POs for services for consultant and individual contractors. We will be using the module of HR when we run payroll in order to pay the payslip of those staff that will be working for the project. And then we will be using the FI module in order to charge the troops that are going to be working in a specific project. So these are the modules in Umoja that are going to be used in order to collect costs for the project. So basically, when we speak about collecting costs and procurement goods as services and issuing materials from inventory, you as project managers and engineers will have to make the following decision. Let's imagine that you need to use some materials, and you ask yourself, where are you going to get these materials from? Okay. The first question you need to ask yourself and to work together with the requisitioner. The requisitioner is the person who will input the data in the system, but you need to work together with them and advise them whether to what type of document to create, and we're going to see it later, especially for those missions that have a centralized acquisitioning unit. So basically, you will need some materials in order to construct the assets. So the first question you will ask yourself is, okay, this material is already in stock and I can use it. So we can have a question that says yes, so there is a stock available. So therefore, what you will do, or what you will advise the requisitioner to do, is to obtain this material from inventory. The related concepts in Umoja, the documents in Umoja that are related to this action of getting materials from inventory is two. It's a reservation and a goods issue. We can have also the option that the material that you need in order to construct the asset is not available in stock. So therefore, okay, first, there's another option when the material is available in stock. Let me see. You can obtain it from another section or another mission. So the related concept, the related documents in Umoja is the STO, intra-mission stock transfer order, or intermission stock transfer order. In the case that there is no material available in stock, then you will have to acquire it from the vendor, acquire it externally to the UN. So the way to acquire formally in Umoja is via shopping cart and a PO. Basically, what you will have to advise the requisitioner is to create a shopping cart in certain ways in order to be able to link it at this stage to the project or later on when we issue materials from inventory. The Umoja documents that will intervene in this process are called the shopping cart, the contract, the purchase order, the low value, and also the inventory. Okay, and we're going to see when the costs are directly linked to the shopping cart and in what instances it will be the cost center through the storage location paying for the shopping cart, and later on when we issue the materials from inventory, we will assign this issuance to the project. What I want you to understand at this stage is that raising a shopping cart and a PO is not always the first option. If you are a manager, if you are an engineer, and you are involved in constructing a project, you need to work together with the requisitioner and you need to plan, and Umoja offers you reports in order to assess if there is a need to procure these items, or these items are already procured and they are stored in the warehouse. So what you need to do is basically to issue them from inventory and charge the project. Also, Umoja offers you the possibility of running reports and to request these materials from other storage locations or from other missions by using an STO document. This is why, in my point of view, your participation is relevant throughout the entire life of the project, but most importantly, during the first phases of the project, in the definition of the project, in assigning or deciding how many elements a project is going to have, and what are the different sources on how the costs are going to be collected to the project. Is this understood so far? Okay, there was a question saying why service entry sheet is under logistics execution instead of SRM. Okay, basically because SRM is the portal where we are going to place, let me go back, shopping carts and PO is the portal for procurement, let's say it finishes at the state of approving purchase orders. What we can do in SRM is to create shopping carts, to create contracts, to create low values, and to create POs. Later on, in Umoja, the module where we perform goods receipt and service entry sheet, it's called logistics execution, and it's done in ECC. The process is like that in Umoja, and the service entry sheet and goods receipt falls into logistics execution. Let me see the task, and please mark with the tick, the green tick or the red tick if so far it is understood what I'm saying. Okay, I see most green ticks. I will move forward. Remember, engineers, project managers, you have to work together with the requisitioners, especially those missions who have a centralized acquisitioning unit, in order to advise how the shopping cart, what is the account assignment, what is the charter of accounts that the shopping cart needs to have, in order to be able to attribute the shopping cart, this goods issue, and the PO to a specific project. Let me introduce you on the procurement processes for those of you who are not familiar with it. The first thing that a requisitioner needs to ask to himself or herself when there is a need, when the decision is to procure from an external vendor an item, the first question is to ask if and to find out if there is a contract already in place for this material. So we can have also different responses, yes or not. If the contract is already in place, it facilitates a lot the work, because we will be linking the shopping cart from the item that is already in the contract. So this shopping cart will be funded, meaning that it will be charged against a fund center, cost center, storage location, and the purchase order will be automatically generated, because by selecting an item from a contract, we are already selecting who is the vendor, what is the price, what is the Incoterm, etc. We just need to specify what is the quantities, what is the delivery date, and what is the fund center that will be paying for the item. There are some other cases that the item that we need to procure for our project is not under any contract, any system contract or local contract. So in these cases, we need to ask, or the requisitioner will, and the project manager will need to find out if the estimated value of the shopping cart or the requirement is above the threshold of $10,000. We can have different options. If the value is less than 10,000, meaning that is a low value acquisition, then we will create a low value acquisition. Remember that the low value acquisition is a PO, is a purchase order. So it's not like a requisition. We are committing funding when we raise a purchase order, low value purchase order, which is a low value acquisition. If the estimated amount of money is above $10,000, then we will have to think if this requirement is a one-time acquisition, or it will be a recurrent product ID that we need to acquire. In case that there is one-time acquisition, we just have to create a funded shopping cart and then a purchase order. If there will be a recurrent need, what we need to do is to establish a contract before acquiring. So we will, in order to establish a contract, we will create an unfunded shopping cart, and then there will be some process doing in procurement, which is an ITB, an RFP, an RFQ, and then the following document is a contract. Once we have a contract in place, then we will be able to acquire the items from the contract by doing a funded shopping cart and a purchase order. Do you have any questions so far, what I'm saying? I see a lot of buttons in. Okay. Debra? Debra, do you have any question? I'm muting you, so you can raise the question now, if you want to. Okay, no. Yes, there is a question. Okay, someone is asking about the one-time acquisition. This is, yes, let me explain you. Procurement will have different contracts in place for the for those products that are most commonly and recurrently used. So as you know, we have a system contract with Cisco, we have systems contract with the major medical companies, etc. However, we don't have system contracts or local contracts for all the products that we may require to buy, because there are some products that we just need to acquire once and we don't forecast to need it on a recurrent basis. So the process of establishing a contract is costly in terms of time and also money, as it involves many people and it can last a few months, and we need to assess if I mean, usually this is done when the need is recurrent, so we do that. What we want is to secure a price and a vendor, so the process will be faster when we procure items that are on a recurrent basis. If the item is not, you don't think is not a common item that you procure on a recurrent basis, then what you need to do is to procure it maybe once and never again. So what you do is to create a funded shopping cart, then you will go for an RFX process, meaning RFP or ITB or RFQ, but then you will not establish a contract. You, as a result of this RFX process, you will place a PO, a purchase order, not a contract that will be in the system contract available for everybody, not a contract that will be in the contract catalog. As a result of the ITB, we will place one PO. This is basically the difference. Okay, we have some questions. One question is, what is an unfunded shopping cart? Okay, an unfunded shopping cart is a shopping cart whose account assignment, the charter of accounts, the accounting information is unfunded, meaning that this stage of the shopping cart is used when we want to raise to procurement a formal request of a need of a product. But this product is not available in any contract catalog, and we are not certain how much it's going to cost. So what we need to do in this moment is to just raise the formal request of a shopping cart, but in that moment, no cost center is going to be charged. So this is basically the funded shopping cart, a formal request to procurement in order to initiate the procurement process of the products that we're going to include in the shopping cart, but this shopping cart is not pre-committing or committing any funding at this stage. Then, when procurement will select the appropriate vendor, Then we will create another shopping cart, a second shopping cart, with a funded shopping cart, with an account assignment, which is the storage location, the cost center, or the WBSE that is going to fund this request. So there is another question that says, can I acquire materials through a new contract, even if there is already a contract in place? Yes, yes. There is. You will. Each one of you has. Each one of the missions have access to the contract catalog, to the system contract. In principle, what is advised is to use the product ID that are already under these contracts. However, if there is a business justification for not using because this material doesn't fit specifically your needs, then you can acquire materials that are not in the contract catalog, in the system contract. But it needs to be justified. In principle, so to sum up, the first option is to acquire the materials from the contract catalog. If not, yes, it's possible not to use the contract catalog with the duly justification. Okay, we have another question that says, usually when we go for system contracts, we target multiple projects. Okay, how is it going? One sec. How is it going to happen when this scenario we discuss is about the project? Okay, usually. So basically, if you are using materials or you are procuring materials that are under a system contract and these materials are going to be used in different projects, what you need to do is to assign either the shopping cart or the goods issue. I mean, not to do one shopping cart or, okay, you can assign the line items one by one to one specific project, and the same when you do goods issue. You will have a lot of materials coming from a system contract, but not all the materials are going to be used in the same project. If you have 2 or 3 projects, every time you issue them from the inventory, you will specify what materials are going to be charged against your project. So it's easy to to use one system contract for different projects because it will be one by one. And we're going to see it in the shopping cart. We're going, by product ID, you will have to specify what is the account assignment of the product ID. The same with the goods issue. Okay. I have another question that says, in the case of unfunded shopping cart, since there is no cost center, what happens when the asset doesn't reach the threshold, thus not capitalized? We are supposed to record whatever cost captured by the project as expenses. How we're going to assign the accounting information for that unfunded shopping cart? Okay, the unfunded shopping cart is not yet assigned to the specific project. The funded shopping cart is a previous step that will be then followed by a second shopping cart, and this second shopping cart will be this time funded shopping cart assigned to the project. So unfunded shopping carts are just a specific shopping carts that are made to raise to procurement a formal request in order to initiate a procurement process. So in this unfunded shopping cart, they are not going to be transformed into a PO. This unfunded shopping cart will be transformed in an ITB, RFP, RFQ. And this ITB, RFP, RFQ will be transformed into a funded shopping cart. And this second shopping cart will be funded, will be assigned to an account assignment. And this second shopping cart will be transformed into a PO. And this PO will be assigned to the WBC project as well. So the shopping cart is not directly, the unfunded shopping cart is not directly linked to the project. It's the funded shopping cart and the PO. So, in other words, do not specify the WSC on the shopping cart for this case. Exactly, yes. In the unfunded shopping cart, we will not specify the WSC. It's just a formal request for procurement. We will specify it in a second shopping cart and not in all the cases. If the items are going to be, most of the items actually will go for will be stored in the inventory. So we're going to see later on, it will be at the stage of issuing the items out of the inventory where we will charge the project. So it's to sum up, the shopping carts that are for services will be assigned directly at this stage to the WSE. The materials, the goods, will be assigned to the WSE at the stage of issuing them out from the inventory. I think that all the questions have been answered. Please let me know if you have other questions. Otherwise, I'm going to move forward. Okay, I didn't want to, I just wanted to let you know the purpose of this slide is to let you know that in the case of the projects, you will have to work together with the requisitioners in the planning stage of the project. You know what is your project, you know what are your needs, so you will have to partner with them in order to decide if the items that you are going to use are already available in the inventory, are already available in the inventory but in another region or in another mission, or they are not available or they are not enough, so you need to procure them externally. So when you need to procure them externally, there will be some stage that these items need to be charged against the project. And this is the cost collecting phase that we have mentioned in the diagram earlier. This is the overview. The details, you will see it next week as you will be charging items to the project at different, in the shopping carts and in the issuances from the inventory. The purpose is you to plan and to work together with the colleague that has the requisitioner role, because these actions, these decisions will impact throughout the life of the project. If we don't capture the costs now, then it will be more difficult to capture later on. And the project may not reach the threshold of the asset. This is why it is important. Okay, I have another question. Do you specify the WC on the shopping cart in the system contract case you spoke about previously? Yes, there are. Okay, there are different cases. There will be some shopping carts, and we're going to see which ones that you will specify at the stage of the shopping cart, the WSE element that is going to pay for these shopping carts. In a nutshell, are these shopping carts for services. Okay, when you procure services, when you are creating a shopping cart for a consultant, at this stage, the shopping cart will be assigned to the project, directly. When you procure services like freight or other type of services that will be assigned to the project, at this stage of the shopping cart for services, you will link it to the project. If the shopping cart is for materials, is for goods that are going to be used for the project, you will not specify it at the stage of the shopping cart, you will specify it at the stage of the issuance of the inventory, at the issuance of the warehouse. So there will be, depending on the shopping cart, and this is what you need to know, is that some shopping carts will have the project as an account assignment at the stage of the shopping cart. Others, it will be at the stage of the issuance of the goods from the inventory. So what are the key elements of the shopping carts and low values? It's very important as well. When you are planning, when you are creating your bill of quantities for a project, it's very important to work together with a requisitioner and to check if the product ID of the items that you intend to buy exist already in Umoja. Product ID is for materials and for services. Remember that uncharacterized, generic product IDs are not acceptable. So the materials that we specify in a shopping cart need to be specific, need to be characterized. So when you are planning, at the stage of planning what is the project that you are going to construct, it's good to have a look at the material master and service master in order to check if what you are going to need has already a product ID in Umoja, because if not, you may want to request it. What is the impact of a product ID not being available in Umoja? That you will not be able to request it in a shopping cart. In the shopping cart, what you include are lines, and these lines are represented by product ID. So all these concepts that I'm giving you in this WebEx is for you to know that your participation and your advice is important. Yes, it's the requisitioner executing the transaction in the system, but the requisitioner may need to work together with you in order to understand what is the account assignment they need to input, or what is the product ID that is stated in the bill of quantities, because they may not have the technical knowledge in order to match your bill of quantities with the product ID that are available in Umoja. So one key element, very, very important, is the product ID that we are going to select in the shopping cart. And then the decision if the purchase is going to be for inventory. This is the case for the goods, the materials that we're going to buy. So the plant and the storage location are important concepts that we're going to see. And those items, if they are items for consumption, for example, we're going to see later what is the account assignment that we're going to put in these cases. What is the storage location? The storage location is a key concept when we are acquiring materials for inventory. Materials for inventory, as I said, are goods that we are going to buy and store in the warehouse. What is a storage location? The concept is a little bit misleading. The storage location represents the location at which the items will be inventoried, but at the same time, it represents the fund center that owns the item. For example, a storage location could be engineering section in Bangui. So this is the storage location. Engineering section in Bangui, what is telling me about? Okay, that the items that engineering in MINUSCA is buying will be in Bangui, and they will belong to the fund center engineering in MINUSCA. So it's a concept that represents the geographical location of the items, but also the ownership of the items. Currently, the storage location is pre-populated based on the requisitioner's profile, but then in those cases, especially the missions that have a centralized acquisitioning unit, they will have access to multiple storage locations. So you as well need to make sure that the requisitioner will select the appropriate storage location. If engineering is going to pay for the item, the storage location needs to be engineering, but not only fund center engineering, it will be engineering in your section, Bangui, Bria, or other regions. So selection of the storage location will trigger automatically the fund center that is linked to it. So you don't need to inform the requisitioner what is the fund center. Just by letting them know what is the storage location, the fund center will populate automatically. So it is important for you to get familiar with the enterprise organization structure in your mission. This is an example for MONUSCO. As you see, MONUSCO is the fund, and then represented in logistic execution module by the plant, and then MONUSCO has different fund center. Okay, so we have engineering, we have ICT, we have medical, we have supply, and then we have transport. The fund center is the same across all MONUSCO. The fund center of supply is 10153. Okay, supply 10153 across all MONUSCO. But then what is the storage location? The storage location is a subset of the fund center, because we have, as we see in this graph, that engineering is in the different sections in the mission. It's in Bukavu, it's in Bunia, it's in Entebbe, in Goma, and Kinshasa. So when you need to create a shopping cart, you need to help your requisitioner in order to specify if you are purchasing for engineering in Bukavu, or you are purchasing for engineering in Bunia, or engineering in Entebbe, Goma, or Kinshasa. Depending on the selection, the items that you purchase will be inventoried in one of these storage locations. In other words, you will only have to select what is the storage location represented by 4 numbers, and the fund center will automatically be derived. You don't need to find out what is the fund center assigned to the storage location. These are key elements in raising the shopping carts, and further details can be found in a job aid. We will review them as well next week, because it's super important at the stage of creating the shopping cart. Later on, if there is a mistake at this stage, can to another inventory of another region in your mission. Let me check if there are any questions. Process to outsource the entire project. Please explain. To outsource the entire project. Okay, we are speaking about self-constructed project specifically. If we are going to purchase like a turnkey project, then it's a service contract basically that a company will win, and they will. I mean, the process is much easier because we are not self-constructing. In case that we are outsourcing the project, we will create an RFP, an ITB for a service, which is to construct a project, and then once it is finished, we will process the service entry sheet and we'll process with the payment. The workshop that we are going to see next week is for those projects that we are going to self-construct internally in the UN. Technically, I mean, Umoja-wise, it's easier when we outsource the entire project. Let me see, I want to know if anything is not understood, or you want me to go slower in any of the points that we have seen during this presentation. Okay, someone is asking if this module is applicable to services. Yes, I mean, can you specify the question? If services can be assigned to a project, if this is the question, yes. If the assets that we are constructing include services, and these services need to be assigned to the project because we want to capture this cost, yes, the services will be assigned to the project as well. Please let me know if there is any question. You can also let me know with the green check or the red cross if you understand, you have understood this topic. We will go more on depth next week. Those of you, I see a cross from Yassi Ahmed. So Yassi, if there is any question, I'm going to unmute you and you can tell me what I need to repeat. Yes.
Actually, I'm okay with this one.
Yeah. Okay. And with this one, it's okay. With anything that we have said today, is there anything that you need?
I'm okay with this one.
Okay. Okay. Fine. I saw another red cross. No, not anymore. Okay, so there is a question if we are going to have more WebExes next week. No, next week there will be no more WebExes. Next week it will be the deep dive session. We will go through this shopping cart in the system. So you will execute yourself the shopping cart. You will execute goods issue. All these things that we have mentioned as a concept will be easier because you will be creating them with your own by yourself, and but there will be no more WebEx. It will be presential classes. Yes, you can use the training model in your mission. Yes, you can use the training environment in your mission in case that you need to train your colleagues. And also you can use the presentations that we are going to send you by email. Okay, there's a AUC doesn't include turnkey project because my understanding is that turnkey project is you are hiring a project from beginning to end. So what the company is going to give you is a finalized product or service. The purchase process from this point of view, from Umoja point of view, it's simpler because we are just buying a service. The service can be the construction of an airport, but we just need to do is to technically to follow up that the project is completed. Once it's completed, we will acknowledge it in the system via service entry sheet, and we will proceed with the payment. The service entry sheet can be once, but most probably is on a monthly or on a periodicity that is to be negotiated with the vendor. So in these cases, we will not use the project module, the project system module, and the WBSE elements. Okay. I think this was all the questions. There was one more. How about the outsourcing contract includes assets or fixed assets? How do we go about it? Do we still raise shopping carts for goods? Okay, if we are outsourcing contracts that includes assets or fixed assets, maybe your colleagues in finance are better to advise. I will assume that once you assume the control of the asset, you will capitalize as an asset, but the purchasing process of the outsourcing of a project that includes assets doesn't change, it's the same. I believe that once the asset is controlled by the mission, then you have to create an asset master and recognize it in the system. Without WBSE, how do we capitalize fixed assets in a turnkey project? without the project, how do we capitalize as fixed assets in a turnkey project? Okay, this is the same question it was asked earlier. I take note on this. I believe if your colleagues in finance be able to better advise on this, I believe once the UN has the control over a asset, we'll have to create an asset master. Okay, so with this slide and with this last question, we have finished the session of today. Thanks so much for participating. We're going to touch upon this for an entire day next week. You will go yourself to the system and create your shopping carts and issue materials for inventory. You will be able to see what are the difference between shopping carts for services and for materials. And yes, I'm looking forward to seeing you, all of you, next week. Thank you so much. Bye.
We get them. How we get